If you like to read, research or write queer histories, you'll very soon realise that you're not operating on an equal playing field. My name is Dr. Anthony Delaney. I'm a historian of gender and sexuality in the 18th century, and my first book, Queer Georgians, A Hidden History of Lovers, Lawbreakers and Homemakers, comes out later this year. The first way in which this is not an even playing field is that you will constantly be asked to define what queer means. In all of my historical research, in all of the discussions that I've taken part in all of the articles, books, chapters, whatever it may be that I have read, I have never once seen anybody define what they mean by straight or heterosexual in the context of a historical exploration. It is just not required. It's taken as the default position and therefore doesn't need an explanation. But if you write about being queer, you are constantly forced to define what you mean by queer. How can you call something queer if it's in the 18th century when those people didn't refer to themselves as queer? Well, those people didn't refer to themselves as Georgians either, Brenda, but you don't have a problem with that. So you're constantly made to work twice as hard to justify the very existence of queerness in the past than people who concentrate in heteronormative histories are. The second way in which this is not an even playing field is that we need to liberate the idea of queerness from the Sex Act. Of course, queer people in the past were having sex. Of course, they were having sex with people of the same gender and same sex as them. However, it is not the definitional criteria of queer experience in the past. In Queer Georgians, I have prioritised intimacy rather than the Sex Act. Now, let me just say, there's plenty of sex in Queer Georgians too, but it is not the sole marker by which we determine same-sex attraction. It can't be. That's so basic. We don't apply that criteria to straight histories. Obviously, there are other ways in which queer histories are marginalised, but these are two of the main and mainstream points that I encounter time and time again in my research. And those two pieces of criteria just do not apply to traditional heteroregulated, heteronormative histories. So when you apply that criteria to queer histories, then you're putting us at a disadvantage straight away. It's like you're saying, I'd love to make this history as difficult as possible for you to tell. Now I'm off to do some queer history, as it happens, because I've got some final checks to do on the last draft of Queer Georgians. Oh, by the way, in America, it's not called Queer Georgians, it's called Queer Enlightenments. Just so you know.